Welcome to another exciting episode of Beyond Words podcast series. Hi, Sita.
Hi, Modita.
So, let me introduce my dear co host today, Sita Gadirgavanathan, a veteran banker who's having experience for 18 years, almost 18 years, and working for a global bank, and a passionate speaker who teaches kids to play piano and do a lot of things to society. So, Sita, welcome.
Thank you very much, Modita, for that kind introduction.
Right.
And let me introduce Modita Sendanayaka, who's a multifaceted individual, I would say. There's nothing that he has not done. He has written a song, he's a creative writer, but importantly, he's an HR professional attached to the multinational organization. Welcome, Modita, and it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, pleasure also mine. Sita, can you name a word that starts with letter C? Very important, significant word that goes with the season or have any impact on your life, professional and personal?
Christmas.
Yes, that's the word for the season, but it's not the word that was in my mind. Any guesses?
The other most important thing that I can think of is communication.
Absolutely, communication. So tell me, how do you define communication? What is your take on communication?
Communication can be both verbal and non-verbal communication, which is the technical definition of it.
Yeah.
But there are ideas and thoughts that we have which we sometimes struggle to communicate with when
True.
it comes to our loved ones, when it comes to our colleagues and the fraternity at large. But it is always important that when we communicate from our hearts. That is what I firmly believe in.
Lovely. So for me, it's like communicating your ideas. It's a bridge between your ideas and actually what you want to say. So if you are not communicating what you really want, that will be the end result would be absolute disaster. So do you have any such experiences?
If I was to talk early on in my childhood, Modita, when I had gone for my first interview. Now, when you say first interview, you might think it's in my workplace. No.
First interview?
Yes.
All right,
It was not in my workplace. It was my grade 1 interview in school. Now, I don't remember anything about it. It was my mother who has told. Actually, I have gone for the interview. And trust me that I have not even said good morning to the principal.
Okay.
And then what has happened? They have not selected me to that semi-government school, which my sister was already there.
Right.
They didn't select me because I refused to speak a single word in English at that time at the very first interview. So that was my first experience, I would say. And then thereafter from grade 2, I managed to get enrolled to the very same school.
All right.
But in grade 3, again, if I was to narrate a small story, there was this speech competition. Now, those days when you say speech competitions, when you're in grade 3, obviously your parents will be writing that speech for you, right?
That was in grade 3?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was in grade 3, and then my mother had written an absolutely wonderful speech. And when I went in front of the audience, and when I started saying, I said, distinguished guests, honorable principal, wonderful teachers and parents.
So all the formalities.
And then everything, all flowers around the world put together. And then when I wanted to speak on a topic that I was given, I went completely blank. And from that day onwards, till the end of my school journey, I never went on stage to speak. Can you imagine that someone like me can't speak in front of an audience at that very tender age? How was it in your school life?
Yeah, I do have wonderful and maybe funny story to share with you. That happened when I was in grade 8. Now, my school was a very renowned mixed school, a single one. So, I have few conditions in my school because my father was a teacher in the same school. He was teaching advanced level mathematics. He had a long span there, so it's a reputed teacher. So, every time the burden is on my shoulder to keep his name and to behave like a very good kid since grade 6 because I did my scholarship examination and then moved to this central college. And what happened, we had a tradition. From grade 6 to 8, we had a mini assembly. And from grade 9 to 11, we had another assembly. And from 12 to 13, something like that. But from grade 6 to 13, we had the major one. But they were having these mini assemblies to give opportunities for students to speak. So what happened actually, they allocated one opportunity per class for one student to go on stage and speak. On that particular day, I was not at the school. I was sick. I still remember. And then the turn came to my class. One of the organizers, rather a teacher, she would have maybe remembered a bit later, and she ran away, and she had told my teacher that tomorrow is the assembly, so you need to give an opportunity to one of your class students, so please select one and immediately give me the name. So there was this discussion. No one was there, but I was absent. So the class unanimously selected my name in my absence, right? Seriously, this happened. And they proposed my name, and even the class teacher acknowledged because she knew me, and the name was given. On that day of the assembly, I was there in the queue without knowing everything in this world, and I was enjoying all the certificate giving ceremonies and all these things. I didn't know anything. At least if that person or the student had the little bit of a decency, he should have told me that tomorrow at least you need to do something like this. Unethical, right? And then I didn't know. So I was waiting, and then the name was announced. Class 8C, Modita Sendanayaka will come on stage, and now he will do a speech. So everybody was looking at me. I was looking to find Modita as well because I was panicked. Imagine, as soon as you hear your name, what could have happened? So I was not prepared. But there was two things in my mind, my father and also my reputation of my class. So I went on stage. Still, I can't even remember how I went on stage, from my hands to the legs, what has happened to me. I went on stage, I still remember. I said something, and I just stood there for like 5 minutes without saying anything. So finally, somehow I went down, and I was completely dejected, disappointed. That was my very first experience in public speaking, or rather, doing something in front of an audience. The person who nominated me in my absence, I later found him as one of my good friends because he did some remarkable thing to me, because that was a great opportunity to me to improve myself. That was my very first experience in public speaking. So he's a doctor right now. I used to call him like, you were the one who pushed me, unethically named me in my absence, but you did a marvelous thing to me. So that is one of the greatest memories that I have in my mind when I talk about my school days with regard to communication. So
that's excellent, actually, because I mean, you have had a friend who has believed in you, who has actually pushed you. I think we meet certain people like that in our lives, especially in our day-to-day lives, where we have these people who believe in ourselves and who push us when we are afraid. Now, I wish somebody has pushed me after that grade 3 where I stopped speaking, because there were so many debate competitions, so many speech competitions in school. I managed to become a senior prefect at this particular school, but then again, that was because I was very studious. Not because I was able to speak much. I mean, I could talk, I could make friends. I think my PR skills were good. But when it comes to public speaking in front of an audience, that stage fear was still there. And even I was only 8 years old, but still that's something that maybe you might call it ego, or something that fear of failure has got stuck at that tender age, I would say. So you were very lucky, I would say, when it comes to your life, where you managed to get onto that stage and speak. And did you then continue that journey, Modita?
Yeah, of course, because that was the turning point. That was a bad experience, but again, that was a turning point. And that helped me to improve myself because we were predominantly speaking in Sinhala, not in English, because that was a government school and we were very comfortable with speaking in Sinhala. English period was one of the most entertaining periods. Sometimes we were not there most of the time. And I used to, when I reflect on my memories, those were funny memories, but I remember there were certain periods that I could have learned more and maybe should have done something in much better ways. But started off journey of my prefectship. I became the head prefect after going through, but still not much of speaker. So I just did some of the announcements and did certain speeches. But I realized that I want to improve in my English. So there were certain measures that I took afterwards, especially improving the communication aspect when I was going into the higher studies.
That's excellent. And when you mentioned that, saying that you studied in the Sinhala medium, I of course studied in the Tamil medium. And with my other classmates, other school friends, we used to communicate mostly in English, having studied in Colombo. Now, when I moved on from school, I joined a bank. And I was put to a branch in Colombo 12. And mostly there, everybody, after the branch closes, there were 12 of us. 11 of them were speaking mostly in Sinhalese. So then again, that knowledge gap was there. But at that point, something in me told that even if people laugh, even if I fail at certain attempts trying to speak, I started speaking. So now I can actually speak a little in Sinhala with you, because
Okay.
even though sometimes I pronounce the words wrong, people may laugh, but it's okay, because we are learning something new, right? Not everybody comes into this world knowing everything. Gradually we will learn, and especially when it comes to not only public speaking, speaking a language, communicating with people, I think it is important to get rid of that particular fear of failure, or fear of thinking that somebody might laugh at you, or having that nervousness inside of you. You might have to try to control all that and still trying is, I think, something very important.
Very true, because fear of failure and fear of unknown, these are two factors that we need to avoid or gradually eliminate from our lives. Because while I was moving through, just like you, I know that they shared that you were struggling a lot with regard to certain areas, and then you were coming up in the ranks. I do have my share of experience. If I go back in my memories, I remember when I joined, I was in a bank, just like you, many years ago, before I moving into a different pathway.
So we would have shared many similar
Absolutely.
experiences. Definitely,
It's
being a
nice.
banker.
We share a lot of things in common,
I know,
right?
Of course, a
Great.
lot, in fact, yeah.
So Sita, I was actually when I've joined this, it was another international bank. The first thing that I experienced is the culture and the communication medium, because I was into engineering pathway that time. So when I was an engineer, I was doing certain things. We were very comfortable in our cubicles, in working in silos. That's a normal standard that we are used to do. So writing emails, that was the whole communication that we are confined to. But I got an opportunity after 2 years down in the lane. I was given an opportunity to do a presentation to the finance team, because we were going through a migration. That is, data converted into a different platform. So we were doing certain technical verifications on that. And my boss, he wanted me to do a small presentation, just like show this implication of this option. If we implement this, what would be the outcome? So how you handle this? And I remember I was getting ready, just like I was doing my final presentation in the university. Because that was the very first time I was preparing to do a corporate presentation. So I prepared slides, and I got a technical support from my team. And then the day came, I went in front of the audience. I looked at them. When I was looking at them, I saw my boss was giving me a thumbs up. And they were encouraging me. Some people were not encouraging. They were looking at me, what this guy going to do. So that they were really skeptical about it. And then I was looking at the other team. They were looking at me as if I'm going to ruin their life, right? So as soon as I saw those faces, my energy went down, right? It happens. You need to deal with the audiences as well. I summoned my strength. I did something, but that was not up to the standard that was expected by the boss, or rather the team management. So I got an evaluation or a feedback from him saying that that was good, but you could have improved on these areas. That was kind of a red light for me, as well as an eye-opener for me, because I knew that I need to do something for this. It's now or never, because communication, just like you said, I believe when you are moving into the corporate world, the English communication is a must. That is the language of the corporate, and no matter how we are very fluent or very confident in other mediums, but you need to deal with this reality. So I faced that reality check, and then I tried a lot. There was the opportunity came, and that's another beautiful story. So what about you with regard to that kind of an experience?
Yeah, when it comes to the presentation side of it, I think when I had to join this particular bank, I had to do a presentation. And the best part is, like, if tomorrow was the interview, they call you today at 4 o'clock and they say, come with a presentation on something.
That
right?
happens.
And then I was so nervous about it. But luckily I had my sister's friend was working in another bank, and then then she helped me. But practically, I think on that particular interview, what I said about the presentation was mostly something that was more memorized, nothing that flew naturally,
Okay.
because I was also tense. But then luckily, I had my sister's friend who helped me the previous day night on how to get about the points, because sometimes we have this knowledge about this particular area, but then how we say it, how we communicate it across to the audience, because there are so many people would go to interviews especially, and after coming from the interview they will realize that they knew 99% of those questions and they want to give some other answer at that interview which they haven't thought of when they are sitting in front of an audience or when they are sitting in front of the panelist actually, because that nervousness and everything that definitely comes in. So it's always about how you learn and grow as a speaker, which will definitely contribute to your professional life. So for me, after that particular incident, my father was working overseas and I had just joined the bank, and then he returned from overseas, and that's where I actually noticed the difference. Now my father has been right throughout in Sri Lanka in working for a bank, but towards his latter part of his career he was overseas where I had just joined a bank. And then I realized how confident he was when he was speaking in front of people. He can talk about any topic anywhere with anyone.
So you were observing him.
Yes.
All right.
And then one day, when he came from overseas, I saw this small trophy. And to see he had actually won a speech competition overseas. And that's when I got to know that you have these opportunities where you can develop yourself when it comes to public speaking. Because it's not something that you learn in schools.
Yep.
Especially in Sri Lanka, I think I failed when I was in grade 3. If there had been an opportunity for me to go and see and speak, I think I might have been able to better present myself in my first interview that I went without the help of my sister's friend. So then I got to know, and this was towards, I think, somewhere around 2011-12. And then I started investing myself in such public speaking journey. And I think that has helped me tremendously. How about you, Modita?
Yes, I remembered what happened to me afterwards. So I decided to improve my communication skills. You know what happens when you come to the December, that period, the performance appraisals are happening, right? Then you tend to mark certain things that if you haven't completed certain training hours, you have to put some training to that and then just to complete it.
That's when HR also starts looking at you, whether you have completed those trainings.
So I had like good 20 to 25 hours of training remaining. So therefore, my boss again, he knew about my limitations in, or rather communication. He wanted me to enroll for a training program, that is communication development training program that was happening inside the bank for, at that time, for like from junior executive to the middle management. And already a one batch had been occurred. So the second program, I nominated myself because I knew when a training program happens in that bank, good delicious food will be there as refreshments. That is number one. And there will be good looking girls as well. Number two. Number three, you can
motivation to go.
Motivation to the maximum. So after maybe it starts around 5:30, go up. It will go up until 7:30. So 2 hours. Just 2 hours of just staying there, listening whatever the trainer would say, and just putting certain notes on the page, on the paper. That's it. You complete and you tick your training and you go. But it was not the case with this training program. And I remember I was going towards the training room. That was around 5:30 in the evening. And as soon as I was approaching, there was the head trainer and a lady, a pretty lady, I would say. And she grabbed me and said, what's your name? My name is Modita. Modita, thank you very much for coming. You're the first person to come to this training program. So I was wondering what would have happened to me, right? I'm the first person. So she just offered the food and took me into the room. And then I just go there and sat down. I was waiting. People came one by one, and like all together we had 20 to 25 individuals. And we were waiting. So there was this training program, the speech segments, certain other elements. And one occasion came that there was the opportunity for individuals to come in front of the audience and to do a spontaneous speech. Just a small speech that you need to give on a random topic. I don't know, for some reason the head trainer selected me and she said, Modita, you were the first to come. I really appreciate that. Therefore, please come. It's very easy. Just take 2 minutes, speak on whatever the topic that you would like to speak. I still can't remember how I walked down on the aisles, right? I just came down and I grabbed the topic, stood there for like 15 to 60 seconds, almost 1 minute, and couldn't utter a single word. I was very nervous, shivering, sweating. And then I knew, okay, this happened to me once previously. Again, it's happening to me. What is the meaning of this life? And then somehow that lady gave me an evaluation to improve myself. She said, I really appreciate your courage to come down, and you stayed there and you stood your ground and you spoke maybe a few words. That's okay, fine. The key is to improve your confidence. That is the key to communication. So that was my experience. So I hope that you have gone through similar experiences.
Definitely. Now, my first time that I went to such a similar incident, it was during the Christmas season.
All right.
It was a Christmas party, but it was a different type of a Christmas party with the meeting set up. The Christmas tree was there. Santa Claus was going to come. There were gifts set up under the Christmas tree. I was hoping they will give me one of those gifts. But then again, everybody started coming and introducing themselves. They started speaking. But the interesting fact that I noticed, Modi, on that particular day was mostly sometimes when we do something wrong, or even be it in the workplace, the feedback that we get is always pointing fingers at you mostly. They come and tell you what you should have done, and in the way that the tone and everything. But that particular day, there was a speaker. I thought the speech was somewhat good. It was still good. But then the speaker who came after to give that particular evaluation to the speaker really encouraged her, congratulated her for coming up and doing. And to see that also has been that speaker's first attempt at public speaking. And the feedback that they gave, I thought that was something different, how motivating it was. I mean, it was full of empathy, I would say. So something that I thought, I also like to come and speak again. Now, that was where I thought, okay, that grade 3 incident I can put behind because someone here will definitely help me. And that's when I started out on my public speaking journey, I would say. And from there on, I came back to my own bank where I was working. And I found that they also have similar type of meetings fortnightly, every other Wednesday. So I thought, okay, let me go to head office, participate in these meetings and see what I can get out of it. And I saw that there were people who were helping how to manage time. Because sometimes, as Sri Lankan especially, you can't stop some people from talking, right? They rattle off at a rate and for hours and hours. I mean, you go to someone's house, you say bye and you're about to leave at the doorstep, you're still saying bye, right? Because we have so many things to talk. But in this particular place, they had these cue cards where they were showing and telling people, okay, this is how you have to manage your time. So then you have to get that point across that you want to say, the important points. And that actually I took back to my workplace. And I was a branch manager also thereafter. And I found it very useful within that 1 hour morning meeting that I had every Monday, that I was able to convey whatever I wanted to say within that time. And the other thing that I learned, Modi, I think is a very important aspect of communication. As much as speaking is important, listening is also
Absolutely.
important. Because definitely if you don't listen to the people around you, you are not going to get anywhere. Now that is one important characteristic I would say when it comes to leadership. Also, leadership is another aspect where you will be able to develop yourself over time. So I'm sure there would have been many experiences where you also would have got from this particular organization.
True. You mentioned the word leadership. So before moving to the leadership, so I have a nice story how the transformation happened in myself, within me, because of this experience, right? Before that, one particular point that you mentioned, that is the feedback, right? I firmly believe that feedback can make a person or break a person, right? So I have seen, because I have given feedback for some people being a student leader in my school days, heading certain organization, association. I was very rude at that time, I would say. I was a very humble and innocent boy because of my father. He was there in school. And sometimes if the things were not going in my way, the way that I wanted to happen, I was a bit arrogant, sometimes tough. I wanted them to do exactly the way that I wanted. So at that point, now if I go back to that time, I would say I could have given some points for them to realize, okay, saying that we could have done this thing in this way and to motivate that person and then expose that person to next level where he will get that courage and do much better in the next time. So that technique that I learned through my corporate journey, of course, being a participant of such meetings and forums, fraternity. So that experience helped me to think in a different way. And just like you mentioned, some people listen to respond only. They are not actively listening. They grasp or absorb what they want to, listen. In certain audience, because if I want to make my point about the leadership, so because of the experience I got through communication and exposing myself to that particular forum, I knew that there was something within me. That's a little tiny spark, because that must be coming from my father, because he was a teacher, because teaching is something inherited in me. I wanted to teach, I wanted to train, I wanted to share my knowledge. So that happened back in, I think, maybe 15, 16 years ago when I was taking part in this journey. And then it helped me to become a trainer, because gradually I moved from the technical background to the HR professional background. So that was the transformation that I had, mainly because of the experiences I got through this communication development, and also because of my self-belief and my particular interest in learning these things, because I was really into that. And I realize some people, when we are dealing with the audiences, we would have many experiences on this as well, since you're also into training. Some people, they want to show off, right? They want to make their point across, right? Without listening to what is the speaker is saying. They just want to mention or say that I too I know these things, right? I too need to mention a point. And some people, they want to, we call them sharpshooters. They cling into particular point. They just take one point and then go and on again. Just want to emphasize on that particular point. And some people, they just like jokers. They want to make some fun out of the audience and, make some fun out of the people. There are several individuals in certain audiences. So do you have an experience on handling these type of individuals? Because it's a collection of the society, the real reflection of the society that we'll get as an audience. So how did you deal with that?
Definitely. Now, from what I learned from this particular organization, when I went back to my workplace, Modi, now, like I said, I was in a branch. Now, in a branch, it's not only the staff members that you're dealing with, right? On a day in, day out basis, you get so many people coming in. The customers that you meet, different type of customers. I mean, you give the best of service. Some of the customers are not happy and still they will go and complain. You just do a small thing and they are very grateful to you for life. So those different type of customers, how you interact with them. And there was a particular incident, I would say, that I was actually transferred to the Vallavatta branch. But you won't believe, after 6 months, the customers were not happy because I was a credit officer who was handling their facilities. They have requested for the branch manager for my transfer back to my old branch at Colombo 12.
Okay.
And I actually agreed. Now, I used to live in Bambalapitiya, but I agreed to go back to that particular branch because I thought it is something that I am in a place where I am wanted. And I think because of the way that I learned from this organization on how to deal with difficult customers, how to handle different types of individuals, how you can communicate your ideas across to them. Now, I was primarily into lending, right? So when you have these lending ideas, now somebody might come to you for a loan, but it is something where you make your ideas giving into them, where you give them the proper ideas, where they are also able to grow with you. Now, that was something that I firmly believed in. And this giving feedback, what I learned, like you said, giving feedback and showing them the way is something that I would say that I learned from my public speaking journey. And because of that, I was able to help out so many, not only customers, even other people. I was able to help them on their public speaking journey, which I am currently doing, which I enjoy doing, I would say. Because giving back is something I think which is very important, because we should not keep what we got only to ourselves, right? Now, as a teacher, your father would have been giving back to the society right throughout his entire life. And now you are also doing something very similar to that. So I'm sure you also must be enjoying your journey like that, right?
Very true. The golden thing that you mentioned is about the impact of the proper feedback mechanisms. That will definitely have huge impact on the people, right? Because that is the way that we can change this world. Because we gain the experience, we gain the knowledge, and we can just impart them into people through the feedback mechanism, right? So one thing that I learned through feedback, and also while going through this journey, I was more into competition, just like you mentioned. I got a golden advice from one of the leading personality in Sri Lanka, who actually went to the international level, and we were in the same fraternity platform, and then we were competing in the same category but in two different ways. So I was very confident. That was the early stages in my competing life in this particular speaking contests. And then I still remember I was getting ready, just like I was preparing for the final presentation in the university. I was just putting all these things in my head. I was practicing day in, day out, taking even the leaves from the bank. Right? So I was taking personal leaves and practicing. Then the day came, and I went to this particular place, a huge stage. For the first time in my life, I saw it. There were many individuals who came from different backgrounds, and people who were wearing all these quotes and everything. That impression was magnificent. And then I wanted to give my best shot. So I prepared myself, I memorized it. And the time came, I went on stage. I thought I did a remarkable opportunity, or rather a job. So I was waiting for the results. Particular opportunity came. And then the MC was there. He announced third place goes to. He just called the name of the lady, and she just stood up and went there, grabbed the trophy, and went out. So I was not the third place winner. So I thought, okay, maybe I have done something better than her. So I will be the second place winner, because I know that I'm pretty much sure I'm in the first three places. Second place name was announced. I was not there. Somebody else came, grabbed the trophy, and just went out. This is the moment, right? Must be the first place winner. I realized now, visualize my name is going in the internal communication within the bank. CEO is coming to my department, shaking hands with me, wishing me, right? Everything sort of communicational things come to my mind. First place announced. I was, halfway. I was on the way, but something else came, and she came and grabbed the trophy and went out. I was disappointed, dejected, disheartened. All the adjectives, adverbs that you can put into the communication, right? I went to the corner of the stage. I was very upset about it. This particular person came, and he tapped on my shoulder and said, "Bro," in his own language, "what's the upset?" And I said, I put all my efforts. But what's the point if I put my all effort and if results are not there? What's the point? So he said, "Remember one thing. You did a remarkable job, because I saw your speech. You delivered the point nicely. But there are three things that you need to remember. Number one, you need to deliver a message, which is a key point in communication, right? You need to put your communication across the audience. And remember, there is something called audience as well. You need to tap into their expectations as well. Number three, enjoy what you do. If you are not enjoying your speech on your stage, or whatever the communication that you do, whatever the thing that you do, if you are not enjoying, the best will not come out. When you enjoy, irrespective of all the accolades, trophies, and medals, the best will come out. And therefore, you have achieved your own benchmark, which means you have satisfied yourself, and you know where you want to go, and you have put yourself into that level." That completely changed my philosophy of competing, and even to do things in a better way. So whatever I do, I make sure that I do to the best of my ability to enjoy myself, and also give that enjoyment to others as well. So they will literally enjoy and get it into their hearts. So that is one of the, I would say, biggest things I learned in communication journey. So what about you?
Yeah, I would add to that actually, Modi, because when we as listeners in the audience, we need to know what is in it for us. Now that is now, when I said every fortnight I went for that meeting just to see what I am getting it. So like you said, you gave a very valid point where you said that message that you give, that inspiration or something, okay, he has faced a similar incident, I also have faced. So it's okay, we do fail in life or something for that matter, that motivational thing that something that I want to take home with me after listening to you as a speaker. That is something which is very important, and that is why, because sometimes you see speakers, they come on stage, they say so many things and they go walk away, and you're like, okay, what did they actually say in that particular
That's the point to be
15
taken,
point? What's
right?
the point? What did I get out of it? So everybody, I think in life, everyone will be selfish at some point,
Yes.
right? So we want to know what is in it for me. So it's always important that when we give out a speech, we do give that particular message and we are able to relate to the general audience. We can't speak to just one or two people in a 500,000 member audience, right?
Yeah.
So what you gave that valid points, I think that is important. And especially the other thing that I think which is way more important, like you said, where you should enjoy yourself on stage, we should be our own self is something that I firmly believe in. You have to be yourself. Otherwise, if you try to imitate someone or be like someone else, end of the day, you're not actually going to be yourself, and then your message is not going to go to the audience.
Simply you're faking it.
Exactly. So you should not be fake and you should be authentic as much as possible. The more authentic you are, the more your message will get across to the audience. Is something that I have learned and which I practice. I mean, I don't think I have changed when it comes to that aspect. Even my friends who have known me for 20, 30 years say, Sita, you haven't changed one bit. Because I think that is something I believe on stage, off stage, the more you are, the more you tell your own stories, that is something that will go across to the audience. So Modi, after that particular day, I think you would have come back to the stage again, right?
I came back and result was I was the third place winner after 3 months.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Like 10 years ago, right? So that I carries to the my corporate journey as well. So what happens? I would add when I'm delivering a presentation or when I do certain things in front of the audience, it can be a training, it can be a speech, it can be even a lesson, right? I take my own examples from my life. I believe when you have your own stories, when you have your own experiences, because both of us are in this corporate world and we have done a lot of presentations and we are in the process of doing it as well. My take is when we do presentations, the elements or the ingredients that we can add is stories, anecdotes, right? You know about yourself better than anybody else. So you can take your own experiences, at least you can relate one bit of it. And then add a little bit of a humor, maybe, because I believe I'm a humorous guy, I would say. I would love to see humor in everything as much as possible, because that keeps me going. Even I would say if I meet you randomly, I would crack few jokes.
Definitely.
And that's the inbuilt function in me. So we can't do anything about it, right? It's the inbuilt function. So I would add stories, humor, and also something to take home. So this is my formula. And I think that would definitely give me a lot of purchase to share my own knowledge and also construct my presentation and deliver something much better to the audiences, especially in corporate world.
Especially when it comes to training, I think the more stories you tell, because I think as children, we have been listening to stories from our grandparents. So that stories is something when you give it in your own form, your own words, I think that will keep the attention of the audience and something more interesting for them to listen to. Having said that, I think the learning that we get out of public speaking, I personally feel that it has impacted me a lot in my corporate world. Even like 2.5 years ago, I shifted to another bank. The bank that I'm currently working is a global bank. And although I had the technical knowledge, I had about 15 years of banking experience, how I was able to present myself, how confident I was, everything was a result of this public speaking journey that I went through. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity that I have got and for the people that I have met in my life through this journey. I mean, every single person, like you, I also finally found courage and started contesting, and I actually love contesting, going on stage. Now you can't stop me from going on stage because I love speaking in front of an audience, and that is something that I think I managed to get my confidence back and then give back to the audience as well by giving that message. I also do a lot of trainings for a lot of on speeches, on how to construct speeches, how to do, like you said, these impromptu speeches is something which is very, very important, I would say.
Spontaneous speaking.
Spontaneously speaking. I mean, sometimes even when your spouse asks, Modi, where were you? Immediately you have to come up with a response, right?
Sita, for the record, I have faced these situations. Truly. So irrespective of the language, the techniques has given me a lot of things. I know save my life, but to be fair, actually, to be honest, she's very understanding. So I haven't faced such situations, but spontaneous speaking definitely will seal your deal. That's
Definitely,
for sure.
and not only with your family, with your colleagues, with going for interviews, facing anything, facing people on a day in, day out basis in a corporate, professional, or personal life. I think public speaking is something which is very, very important in our lives. No?
So since we started with the word communication, see, if I were to summarize certain things that I shared, through communication you can achieve a lot. It's a must in this world. Right? It improves your character and gives you opportunities to collaborate and others see. And finally, it will help you to create more connections. Character, capacity, collaboration, and connections. So these 4 things will come into your life, which have been blessed, if you improve your communication skills. Sita?
Definitely, Modi, and all the experiences I think we shared, each and every one of us must be facing similar experiences in their lives. So I think that it is important that we definitely invest a little bit in ourselves to improve that communication. So that will help you become a better leader, become a better individual, I would say, Modi.
Great. It has been a great pleasure to share certain experiences with you, because each experience I can take your experience and inculcate within me and take myself to the next level. Thank you very much for sharing all the experiences. It has been a great pleasure to be your co-host and also to listen to some of the nice stories, enriching discussions. Thank you, Sita.
Definitely, Modi. Thank you very much for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why did they let only us go, Mr. Anu?
Because you are tourists, madam. This is the place that King Ravana lived and he is also buried. One day he will wake up and save Sri Lanka.
Like it?
Love it.
There we go. Thank you for spending 5 years of your life with me.
To us.
Mr. Andrew, we got robbed. Where were you?
You sure it's the occasion?
ജനൽ ശരിക്കും അടച്ചായിരുന്നില്ലേ?
Pendo hotel.
We are not safe here, sir.
Don't go there, sir. They will kill you.
Kill who?
Kill you, me, madam, all.
How can you be so happy, Amma?
You want me to be unhappy?
Do you think when women face problems, they cry and hope for a man to rescue them?
Aren't we also responsible?
How are we responsible for it?
This is human life. Doesn't it have any value? Shandu, now might be a good time for Ravana to wake up from his slumber and save Lanka. Like.